We've been talking about fallacies, in particular, the naturalistic fallacy, and we've been talking about Long's 2001 paper, The Logical Mistake of Racism. Well, in this short video, I'd like to talk a little bit more specifically about the naturalistic fallacy. You may have gotten the impression here that there are a lot of these fallacies. In fact, here you can see the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy lists 231 of the most common fallacies. Let me see if I can go down here. And yeah, we're still in the A's there, all these fallacies. Anyway, let's go down all the way to N and click on naturalistic fallacy. Now, one of the things I really like about the IEP, or the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, is that in addition to having entries that are very accurate, they're also very brief. Another of my favorite philosophy encyclopedias online is the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. It is also very accurate, but it does not tend toward brevity. You are very likely to see very long entries, maybe 10 or 12 pages sometimes. Well, let's take a look at this very short entry here about the naturalistic fallacy. On a broad interpretation of this fallacy, it applies to any attempt to argue from an is to an ought. That is, from a list of facts to a conclusion about what ought to be done. Here's an example. Because women are naturally capable of bearing and nursing children while men are not, women ought to be the primary caregivers of children. I think this argument here clearly violates the naturalistic fallacy. That is to say, it begins with a descriptive premise, and from it draws a normative or value-laden conclusion. And that is exactly what Long claims that racists do here on page 49 of his article. Looking here, first sentence of the second sentence here of the second column. This sort of reasoning, pardon me, from descriptive premises to a normative conclusion, or vice versa, is what G.E. Moore labeled in the Principia Ethica the naturalistic fallacy. This logical error occurs whenever someone attempts to infer or deduce a normative or value-laden proposition, we might call this an ought statement, from a set of merely descriptive facts or propositions. We might call these is statements. And this is clearly what the racist does. Racists infer normative conclusions about the quality of a person or persons from merely descriptive premises, for instance, their membership in some race or races. Herein lies the logical mistake of racism. Racists commit the naturalistic fallacy. So what should you know about the naturalistic fallacy? Well, I hope that you will remember terms like descriptive and normative. These are terms that we talked about early in the semester. Remember, I used as an example of a descriptive field of philosophy, metaphysics. In metaphysics, we try to describe the world or parts of the world. But ethics, for instance, is a normative discipline. We're not simply describing how people behave. We are prescribing what is better, what is best, how people ought to behave. The same with aesthetics. Aesthetics is the branch of philosophy that has to do with non-moral value judgments, but it's still value-laden. We're still talking about what is better, what is best. If I say, this painting by Rembrandt is better than that one by my 11-year-old niece, I've made an aesthetic judgment. So I'd like for you to know these terms, descriptive and normative, and understand what those mean. And understand that naturalistic fallacy is when we go from merely descriptive premises to a normative conclusion, or vice versa, by the way. Here is an example of something that appeared on a study guide. This might be a good set of things to know here. What fallacy does Long accuse racists of committing? Again, be prepared to name and describe it and to explain why Long thinks most racists commit this fallacy. Well, I hope that's helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments, objections, or concerns. As always, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Call, text, email. We can Zoom, we can FaceTime. I'd love to hear from you. That's all for now. Cheers.